Saichi was a lonely boy that was bullied by everyone in his class for the way he looked. One day, the god of the world made an announcement and gave everyone a power before sending them to a new world. However, Saichi was the only one left without any powers and kept being made fun of. Once everyone was teleported, God gave him one more special skill, which allowed him to eat mysterious fruit that transformed him into an attractive man that would end up marrying the goddess. In his final moments, he wondered how his life ended up here. After transporting into the new world, Saichi was hungry and had went on for 5 days without food or water until a worm appeared before him. As he desperately tried to reach for it, something hit him in the head, and he finally saw a fruit ahead of him. After analyzing it, the appraisal system defines this as the fruit of evolution. He thinks this sounds like a scam, but takes a bite anyway only to throw it up. A voice activates in his head, announcing that the effects of the fruit will now be activated. In shock, he fears death, but nothing happens. Saichi strolls around to discover monkeys playfully dancing nearby and assesses them to be impressively level 120. They walk away from their base, and he sees all the fruits of evolution that they left and decides to store all of them in his box, along with the best recovery potions in the world. His schoolmates are all gathered without him, but not a single one of them cares about how he currently is doing. Throughout the week, he continues eating the rest of the fruits of evolution until he's down to his last 2. The godlike announcer gives him more power-ups, but the monkeys are back to beat him up for stealing their food. He drinks an elixir to heal, but a fast-moving monkey suddenly knocks him down. It reaches towards his body to eat him, but even the game thinks he smells disgusting and kills the monkey with his body odor. Treasure drops before him along with a book that he reads, and he hears the announcer telling him that his evolution will now begin. Before he knew it, he had woken up with a skinnier body, and remembers his body being dismembered and his bones being broken until his body had transformed. The announcer adds 1,000 to all skills, making him one of the strongest beings while still having 9 out of 10 evolutions left. However, his level is still level 1 after killing the monkey, so he decides to run around hunting level 300 monsters to increase his level and evolution's new super speed abilities and guillotine kicks. But no matter how many of them he defeats, his level never increases. So he decides to continue collecting treasures and gaining special abilities in the meantime, even acquiring legendary daggers in the process and reading about the history of the wolves. His evolution commences once more, and after a week of hunting monsters, he only has 1 evolution left. But before he can recover, monkeys have surrounded him once more, and a giant red monkey asks him to fight against it. Saichi asks if he could refuse, but the monkey denies him because he's ugly. Saichi appraises the monkey, seeing that it is a level 700 monster, and that he's been surrounded by the enemy. The red monkey prepares a giant punch towards the ground, but Saichi dodges with his incredible speed. The monkey is amazed, as this is the first time that anyone's ever survived its first blow. No matter what's happened, everyone has been weak until now, so she falls in love with him. The battle continues, and Saichi attempts to retaliate, but the red monkey vanishes towards him and punches him across the field. The force is enough to nearly kill him, and Saichi hangs on to his last remaining HHP before dying. But the red monkey doesn't kill him. Instead, she introduces herself as Saria. Saichi wonders why she has the name of a pretty girl, and attempts to slash towards her. But the monkey leaps towards the sky, complimenting his skill and thrusting towards him in a last-ditch effort to end him. Realizing that he's about to die, Saichi decides that he will show the monkey his overpowered abilities and uses his magical powers for the first time. However, as the powerful water cascades down upon him, the enraged gorilla starts unleashing a relentless barrage of fierce attacks, aimed at ending Saichi once and for all. The flurry of punches nearly knock him out, but he remembers everyone at school bullying him and calling him a pig. So, in his last moments of desperation, he realizes that he must think of an ability that will end this fight. As the last punch is ready to end him, he raises his armpits and releases his disgusting odor. The monkey's punch stops in its track, and Saria tells him that she will take him and marry him. However, this is nothing like the future he remembers having, and wonders how things took a turn to this way. Saria brings him to her house and tells him to eat up, but Saichi continues trying to tell her that he's a human, and that they can't get married because they're completely different species. However, the food is good enough to make him forget everything he just said, and notices that Saria is able to sew his clothes back up like a good wife. He tries to tell her that she would be a great wife if she married a gorilla, but she tells him that he should just marry her. After weeks of being trapped with Saria, he wonders how he could manage to escape Saria, and realizes that there are places for him to escape. His scheming is interrupted by Saria as she tells him that he's too ugly to date a human girl, so he might as well date a monkey because he looks like one. Later on, the Great Escape Plan will finally go into effect now that she's distracted, but a giant spider is ready to kill him. Saria realizes he's in danger and punches the spider to the sky. She inquires about his well-being, showing she genuinely cares. This entire time she's been so worried about him, yet he keeps rejecting her just because they're different species. Meanwhile, a skeleton sits below them, remembering how he lost faith in humanity and cursed this entire world. He wishes for someone to save him from this darkness. Saichi continues spending his days with Saria, thinking that it's not so bad after all. However, she reveals to him that she's been searching for the fruits of evolution to give to her future husband. He tries to deny knowing anything about it, but Saria tells him that they allow a person to ascend to the peak of their race as long as they don't eat 11 of them, because then they will die. She tells him she will kill whoever stole them from her, but Saichi bends on his knees and asks her not to kill him. This only motivates Saria to marry him more, but after he screams that he doesn't want that, she asks him if he hates her. Saria is eager to marry him, dismissing his assurance that he doesn't hate her. After she leaves, Saichi takes his only opportunity to escape and runs into the forest. On the other side of the planet, the god of the world has greeted all of the high school students and told them that they were the only ones capable of defeating the demon lord of this world because of their incredible strength. But weeks pass of just training, and their commander forces them to continue training before they leave and die in the wilderness. Saichi continues running away for his freedom, but Saria has finally caught up to him and sprints like Usain Bolt while screaming at him to not go that way. Saichi will never be her prisoner again, and uses his instant movement to disappear away from her at super speed. They continue running until Saichi finally approaches the entrance to a cave filled with red air. His only course of action is to enter after hearing Saria's scream, and after exploring it for a while, he sees a skeleton sitting on a throne. The skeleton welcomes him, telling him that he must be rather strong for making it this far. When Saichi appraises the skeleton, he sees that it's only a level 1 Dark Lord. He wonders how he's so weak, but the Dark Lord tells him to check again because it deceived him. Saichi sees his level is 1/500 and knows that he's about to meet his doom. The Dark Lord vanishes in an instant behind him, ready to kill him with a slash of his sword. Saria intervenes at the last moment, getting stabbed to save Saichi's life. Saichi holds on to Saria, and she tells him that she's glad she was able to make it in time to save him. He screams her name, telling her that he will get her a recovery potion. But she tells him that she's glad that he finally called her by her name, because she is already dead. She says that she's only been able to keep talking because of her special ability, but it won't last long. He wonders why someone like her would love him, especially when he would constantly call her awful things, and not even see her the same as him. But for Saria, Saichi was the only person who ever interacted with her normally, so she enjoyed someone finally treating her like a normal person. She asks him for a final request, that he continues smiling for her. The Dark Lord is infuriated with their ridiculous love, and Saichi summons his sword, telling him that he knows nothing of it. He vanishes behind him, summoning his bone and sword and slashing against him. Saichi screams that Saria was a kind girl like he would never imagine. Memories of their time together flash his head, and he screams that he loved Saria. She hears his words, and a golden glow begins to wrap around her. He casts his magical ability, sending water streams toward the Dark Lord, but they are all swallowed by his magical void hole. The Dark Lord commands him to accept his death, but Saichi tells him that he hasn't responded to Saria's feelings yet, and hasn't gone through his last evolution yet. He vanishes towards him with instant movement, and pierces towards the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord accepts his defeat, telling him that he's grateful for finally helping him escape from this prison. Saichi witnesses the Dark Lord reuniting with a loved one, after which they vanish together. Saichi runs towards Saria, and she tells him that she really wanted to be his wife. They kiss each other, and she thanks him as her tears fall. She shines brightly, about to vanish, while he sees a beautiful girl. She runs towards him and hugs him, asking him if he recognizes her. She is Saria, and Saichi realizes that this entire time he's been with the prettiest goddess in the world. They read the tragic story of the Dark Lord together, but Saichi tells her that they were at least able to reunite him with his loved one after working together. He opens the treasure chest and gives Saria a covering outfit. The godlike announcer continues giving him power-ups, and Saria asks him what he's getting. He tells her that it's a gift from the heavens, but the announcer finally gives him the last bit of information. The great amount of experience he has received will now finally allow him to evolve. After his evolution, his eyes and voice change and he becomes taller. He tries to show off, but Saria feels like a river of water is about to come out of her. Sorry, I meant a river of water is going to come out of her eyes because she's crying. Yeah, that's definitely what I meant. Saria promises that she will be with him wherever he travels, but a mysterious animal comes to interrupt them. He awards them for defeating the Dark Lord, giving a travel set like this is some MMORPG and new outfits. They get teleported away and arrive into a world filled with grass. Together they head off to start their new adventure. But before they can reach the town, they have an encounter with a random slime, which Saichi ends with a single blow. He levels up, and light flashes from his eyes. The helmet changes to a black robe, revealing a note. The sheep happily congratulates him on finally reaching the next level, expressing excitement and pride. It explains that this special helmet has evolved alongside him, and will effectively showcase just how monstrously strong he is in comparison to everyone else around him. But before leaving, he leaves him with a final surprise and blows this letter up. They finally arrive at the town, and Saichi asks a local man about the Adventurers Guild. However, the man warns him that he should avoid going to the guild if it's the last thing he does because of how terrible it will be. The man welcomes them to the capital, and they decide to completely ignore his advice and go to the guild. Open the door right now, or I'm going to count to 3. Saichi thinks this must be the guild he has been searching for, so he gathers his courage and opens the door once more, hoping for a warm welcome inside. He sees that this guild is just filled with nutcases going crazy, and Saria asks to see what's inside. Saichi is about to run away with her, but the guild master comes and shows off his muscles, telling them that they're welcome to come register with the guild, and slowly pushes them inside the guild with his flexing. Guildmaster updates Mrs. Eris, the receptionist, introduces herself as the new member of the team. Saria encourages him to register with the guild while considering that everyone else is enjoying themselves here. They join the guild, but a group of 3 bandits come inside and begin picking on Saichi. They are holding him and asking him to go with them for a while. The men escort him out with their bats and brings him to a muscular man. They force him to take his cloak off, and they all think he's hot. They ask him if he would like to develop plot, and that it'll be fine once he gets used to it. With his full speed, Saichi runs away from them, but that only strengthens their resolve to want his strong, muscular legs. The master is impressed that he was able to still come back after all that, because most newcomers don't survive. The guild master informs them of their first quest to gather money, and introduces them to the superior who will be accompanying them, Artoria. Saichi looks at Artoria and appreciates her overpowered laser blasters. Artoria refuses to adventure with them. Artoria yells at them, telling them that she will never adventure with them, but the master tells her that he was able to survive those weird bandits, so he can definitely survive her calamity. She reluctantly agrees to help them, and introduces herself as Artoria the Calamity. They walk to start their first quest and head to an orphanage. Saichi walks with Artoria, puzzled by why she is so far ahead of the group. A boy runs by and trips, and while Artoria is trying to treat him, the logs behind her fall on them. Saichi runs to see if they're okay, but notices that Artoria already knew that something bad was going to happen. She's let herself down. They head to start their next quest, but as Saichi walks towards the ruins, they all fall on top of him. Artoria kneels in despair. She thinks that it's all her fault because she's always had the name of Calamity attached to her. She felt responsible for her parents' death and lived a life of loneliness, avoiding dependence on others due to this curse. Saichi's arm comes out of the rubble, and Artoria yells at him for doing things on his own without directions because it could get all of them killed. She runs away after screaming at him, and he believes that she's actually a really kind person. The school is still undergoing training, but after even 5 months of this, none of them are strong yet. The receptionist inquires about their accommodation, but as nomadic travelers, they have no place to stay. Artoria invites them to stay with her, and they gladly accept her kind offer. Artoria and her companion continue their journey, with her asking him to collect herbs. After hours of searching, he overhears 3 goblins discussing capturing humans. Saichi decides to interrupt them, but they tell him that they will kill him for overhearing their secret plan of overtaking the human realm. They call forth their giant troll, and the giant troll uses his entire might to strike down Saichi. However, Saichi has had a hidden skill this entire time, the ability to take the opponent's blow and transfer the damage onto them. He attempts to ask them about the herbs, but they all turn around and run away from him. They explain to their superior that they entered the human realm to be more helpful to her, despite disobeying. They set up teleportation spells across the entire realm to the Black Dragon God's entrance. Their master is pleased by how evil they were, but will still punish them for disobeying her with 500 whips. The day of the final guild test comes for Saichi and Saria, and Artoria is going to proctor them. The day begins as usual, and Saichi and Saria attempt to defeat a slime to achieve their mission. The slime teleports before being hit, prompting Artoria to realize that hidden teleportation spells exist throughout the land. She tells them to walk back to the guild, but accidentally activates a teleportation spell. Saichi and Saria hold on to her and enter the place with her. They wonder where they have been teleported to, and Artoria tells them to stick close to her, and hands them a stone that will allow them to find her if they get separated. But before they know it, Artoria steps on a stone that causes a wall to raise from the floor and separate both of them. Saichi panics and tries to punch the wall with his full might, but only hurts his hand instead. Artoria desperately battles alone, bleeding as she fights a mummy but builds up the courage to slash it down. Saichi and Saria begin looking for a way to find Artoria, and Saichi finds a secret chest, but decides to just ignore it. The chest begins talking, asking them to open it and releasing limbs from inside. It jumps towards them, and Saichi destroys it with a single hit. They look inside the chest for the loot, and Saichi finds a misfortune ring that has the ability to multiply the wearer's luck by -2. A bright light shines from Saria's plot, and she curiously wonders why the stone that Artoria gave them is glowing red. Meanwhile, Artoria enters the boss's lair, and the dragon welcomes her to her death as she prepares to fight it off. They realize that the stone she gave them only lit up red if she's in danger. They try to use the guide stone to locate her. Saichi repeatedly punches the wall while Saria asks him for guidance, but he ignores her. Artoria continues being destroyed by the dragon, but she continues to have a strong resolve and won't give up until she's gotten back with her friends. A red aura begins to flow around her, and she screams that she will show him how her name became Calamity. She radiates energy and charges at the dragon, but he ultimately strikes her down. With all her energy, she continues trying to resist, but the dragon casts 3 blades that send her flying back towards the wall. Artoria is frustrated by her weakness, but continues using her ability to launch towards the dragon. However, he stabs her in the chest, casting her aside and saying that she impressed him. Artoria's final seconds are spent thinking about Saichi and Saria, and how they were the only 2 that ever brought her a smile ever since she's been cursed with this misfortune. The dragon blows his fire breath, and she apologizes for having them die because of her. Saichi reassures her that they have come to rescue her. The dragon prepares another blow, but Saichi teleports away with his instant movement. He attempts to get closer to the dragon, but the dragon's energy attacks ward him off. After appraising the dragon, Saichi sees that the dragon's level is over 5,000, and realizes that he's about to be screwed. The dragon whips his tail, and Saichi narrowly teleports away. However, the dragon uses telekinesis to force Saichi to stay in one place, and blasts him towards the wall with his tail whip. Saichi throws up blood and falls down, wondering why none of his skills are activating right now. The dragon declares the end of the battle, using his strongest spell, Hell's Inferno. Saria yells at him to use the water spell he used when fighting her, and he summons his legendary dagger, and brings a giant waterfall to fall onto the dragon. The dragon is angered by this, unleashing his fire breath towards Saichi. Saichi flashes away, activating his ultimate skill Gale, but the dragon forces him to stay locked in place once again. He forces his mind to move, and the godlike announcer gives him the skill of intimidation resistance, and allows him to move freely. He unlocks the ultimate skill one with the sword, and rushes towards the dragon. The announcer spams the leveling up button, and Saria runs to hug him. Artoria has been saved by Saria's healing herbs, but they still haven't found a way to escape. Saichi rushes to open the treasure chest to find a way to go home, but sees the dragon's gem overpowered statistics and decides to eat it to increase his magical strength. He opens the treasure chest, finding another black coat to wear like he's Kirito. The rewards bunny appears from a letter again and teleports them out of the dungeon they were just in. Artoria wakes up screaming at Saichi to let her go, then apologizes for involving them in her troubles. She shows him her fortune. She shows him her luck points, and he sees that it's negative 2,000,000. Artoria's misfortune has plagued her since childhood, impacting not only her, but also those around her. She apologizes for bringing them all this misfortune, but Saichi tells her that she's never brought them misfortune, and Saria agrees. A few days pass, and Saichi looks for Artoria, who disappeared since then. He finds Artoria sitting in the rubble he created during their test, and tells her that everyone loves her and misses her. Saichi wants to comfort Artoria, so he hugs her and promises to stay by her side until she can genuinely smile again, which moves her to tears. Artoria expresses gratitude to Saichi for his kindness, while he contemplates how to help her escape her misfortune. His memories of her saying her luck has always been negative lead him to realize he found his answer. Saichi asks for Artoria's hand and puts a ring on her finger. Saichi explains that the ring of happiness will lift her curse and boost her luck from negative 2,000,000 to positive 4,000,000. Artoria will not be a calamity anymore, and he assures her of his unwavering support. She pushes him off of her, running away. He searches around for her, and after a few days of looking, he finally finds her. Saichi builds up all of his courage to try and clear up this misunderstanding. Artoria understands that he didn't give her this ring because he felt like she was bad luck for him, but tells him that she doesn't care about all of that because she's fallen in love with him. She knows that he has Saria, but asks him if she can still be by his side, even if she's not the most ladylike girl. Saichi realizes that he can't choose between the two of them, so he pushes her back. Saria tells him to accept her. Saria is a little sad she won't be able to have him all to herself, but knows that she was never able to monopolize him in the first place. Saichi thanks Saria for being the best girl, and Saichi turns to Artoria, but she tells him to call her R because that's what her close friends call her. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.